Good afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Today on Newsfeed at noon, shock and pushback as the Senate returns the impeachment case of Vice President Sara Duterte to the House of Representatives after months of delaying the trial. The ICC rejects the bid of former President Rodrigo Duterte to disqualify 2 judges from his case. Los Angeles clashes continue between police and protesters against immigration raids. President Donald Trump calls the protests a national security risk. And 1 to go before OT7 as 2 more BTS members are out of the military. It's the last session day of the Senate, and multi-sectoral groups are expected to gather after last night's impeachment drama. To recall, senators clashed over the trial of Vice President Sara Duterte, only to return the case to House lawmakers. Francis Falve is outside the gates of the Senate, and he joins us now. Francis, go ahead.
Yes, Mai, the drizzle and cool weather here in front of the Senate masked the highly charged emotions which are still high from the drama last night. Armed with umbrella and rain gears, protesters from various groups have all started to trickle in front of the Senate compound before 11 a.m., the last session of the Senate. Last night, they held a vigil here calling for the impeachment proceeding to commence and for the senator judges to convene and address the impeachment complaints filed last year. The raindrops could also symbolize the tears of frustration for those pro-impeachment groups after the senator judges ruled 18-5 to return the impeachment complaints back to the sender, the House of the Representatives. Akbayan, Tindig Pilipinas, and other allied social movement groups view the Senate as a den of cowards, while urging the lower house to reject the remand order. They also believe this move is unconstitutional. Like CISO event with the impeachment complaint, it is now a waiting game, as some bloggers and few contingent waiting for the other groups to arrive. Police and military personnel are now deployed in the area to man the traffic and security. Billionaire News learned a bigger contingent will march from the Manila Film Center to the Senate Gate this afternoon to hold a protest program to denounce what they call as one of the Philippine Senate's lowest and darkest periods in history. Mai?
Thank you. Francis Falve reporting live from the Senate. House lawmakers speak up against the Senate's move to remand the articles of impeachment to the lower chamber. Let's bring in Joan Manalo for more on the House's reaction. Joan, go ahead.
The House prosecution panel is set to meet today before they will hold a press conference following the unexpected turn of events surrounding Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment proceedings. They are expected to address issues and concerns on the Senate remanding the articles of impeachment to the House. A mass was earlier held here at the North Lobby of the House of Representatives North Wing, where members of the House prosecution panel are present. Earlier, before the mass started, we saw Manila 3rd District Representative Joel Chua, Batangas 2nd District Representative Jinky Luistro, and San Juan District Representative Isabel Zamora, who are all part of the House prosecution panel. Akbayan Representative-elect Chel Jokno, who will also serve as one of the House prosecution panel in the 20th Congress, is also present today. Representative Luistro earlier confirmed that the House prosecution panel will first meet before the press conference originally set at 11 a.m. today. What we can expect from that talk would be their plans moving forward, especially with the impeachment articles being remanded by the Senate to the House. Chua also stated in an ambush interview earlier that they are yet to discuss their next steps, but he expressed deep sadness as he believes that what happened in the Senate yesterday was a violation of our Constitution. He added that it is not under the Senate's mandate to file a motion to remand the impeachment articles to the House, as this should be the job of the Defense Counsel. Chua also emphasized that the Senate, as an impeachment court, should remain partial or neutral in the course of the proceedings. This was also supported by Representative-elect Jokno, who said that the Senate should immediately try the Vice President once the articles of impeachment have already been transmitted to the Senate. He even said that there should already be no question about what happened in the House in response to the Senate's request to certify the non-violation of the one-year ban. And he also stressed that the Constitution must always be upheld, as it is not just a piece of paper, but a supreme law governing the people. Mai, we are still waiting as to how the House will respond to this action by the Senate, but they remain firm at, that the Senate's mandate is to try and decide on the impeachment, and that the House role to impeach and transmit the articles is already done and fulfilled. And those are the latest updates here from the House of Representatives. Back to you, Mai.
Thank you for that report, Joan Manalo. Senate President Escudero faced the press earlier today to clarify issues relating to the Senate's decision to remand the articles of impeachment to the lower house. Monitoring for us at the Senate is Hannah T. Hannah, tell us more about what SP Cheese said.
My Senate President Escudero denies claims that he had private talks with President Bongbong Marcos about dropping the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte. Escudero says his only discussions with the president were during the regular LEDAC meetings, which focused strictly on priority legislation, not the impeachment trial. This comes amid a Politico report that said Malacanang was sending mixed signals to the Senate about whether to proceed with the trial. It can be recalled that it was PBBM's son, Representative Sandro Marcos, who first signed the impeachment complaint before being transmitted to the Senate in February 5. Escudero says he cannot speak for the palace. And since impeachment articles are set to return to the House of Representatives, Escudero says the House must follow the Senate as an impeachment court. Escudero earlier said do not intend to dismiss the impeachment case. If the House of Representatives in the 20th Congress rejects or returns the articles of impeachment, the Senate Impeachment Court may proceed to deliberate on the case based on the articles already transmitted to the Senate. Meanwhile, members of the Senate Sergeant at Arms already arrived at the office of the Vice President this morning in Mandaluyong City to serve the writ of summons to Vice President Sara Duterte. And the OVP did not allow the media to cover the serving of summons inside the building, but VP Sara has 10 days to respond. Those are the latest here in the Senate. Back to you, Mai.
Thank you for that report, Hannity, live from the Senate. Tensions flared at the Senate as the minority pushed back against returning the articles of impeachment to the House. Let's take a look back at last night's shocking turn of events with this report from Hannity.
Return to sender may just be tantamount to outright dismissal. This after a wave of disappointment swept the Senate minority. Senator Judge Coco Pimentel calls it a disappointing night as the Senate finally convened as an impeachment court, but not to begin trial. The court voted to return the articles of impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte to the House. The decision was backed by 18 senator judges. Only 5 voted no. No dismissal, but no trial either.
Alam mo, walang konseptong return to sender sa mga legal proceedings. Sa postal office meron, pero sa legal proceedings sa korte walang ganun. Sila na po interviewin nyo to. Napagod ako sa kausap sila.
Senator Judge Alan Peter Cayetano filed a motion, an amendment to Senator Judge Bato de la Rosa's earlier proposal to dismiss the case entirely. It was de la Rosa's call for dismissal that triggered the convening of the impeachment court. Under the approved motion, the House must certify that it did not violate the one-year ban on multiple impeachment complaints last year. It must also confirm that the 20th Congress is willing to pursue the case. The 20th Congress will not take over until June 30. Senator Risa Ontiveros objected, calling the language vague and legally ambiguous.
Nakikita natin, Mr. President, talagang brick by brick, stone by stone, dinidismantle itong impeachment trial process at dinidismantle yung impeachment complaint. Napakalaking disservice po sa ating dapat tungkulin sa ilalim ng konstitusyon.
Senator Judge Win Gatchalian warned that the move pushes the Senate into uncharted territory.
Maganda sana na pag-usapan yan during the trial proper kasi yun transparent at fair sa lahat. Hindi naman ibig sabihin kung pinakinggan nito sa trial proper, matutuloy siya. Pwede rin siya ma-dismiss.
But to De La Rosa, it's already a win.
The mere fact that the body approved, the court approved for the remanding or the returning of the articles of impeachment to the House of Representatives is a manifestation that they agree to my privileged speech that the articles of impeachment, the impeachment complaint is constitutionally infirm.
De La Rosa earlier called out the rush of the House to transmit the impeachment articles last February 5. He adds it's the reason why the Senate is being pressured to convene immediately. Presidential sister and Senator Judge Amy Marcos agreed, saying the complaint could still be taken up by the next Congress, but argued that the case was never about accountability.
Nakikita natin, saan ba uuwi ang impeachment? Ang uuwian lamang disqualification, tanggal sa opisina niya. Yun lang yun. Para sa akin, di ba, magpakatotoo tayo. Para ito, glorified early disqualification. Nako naman.
Marcos, a close ally of VP Sara, did not wear her robe as the impeachment court convened, along with Senator Judges Robin Padilla and Cynthia Villar. Still, the court stopped short of dismissing the case. Senate President and Presiding Officer Cheese Escudero insisted that the case remains alive, and a writ of summons has been issued to Vice President Sara Duterte.
Sara Zimmerman Duterte, who is directed to file her answer within a non-extendable period of 10 days from receipt of the summons and a copy of the complaint, pursuant to Article 7 of the impeachment rules. So ordered.
The supposed presentation of impeachment articles is now rendered moot, but his message was clear. The Senate is still following the rules. The impeachment of a sitting VP has never happened before, and this case, whether it moves forward or not, will set the tone for the next Congress. Hannah Tia, Billionario News Channel.
We now have live via Zoom from the Netherlands. Former Dean, author, and law professor, Attorney Mel Santa Maria. Hi, Attorney Mel. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mai.
So your reaction to all this, in your post, Attorney Mel, you called the remanding of the impeachment complaint from the Senate back to the House of Representatives a mangling of the Constitution.
Mai, the wordings and aspirations of the Constitution are very clear. The Constitution did not use complicated language. It says the mandate of the Senate is to try and decide the case. And when you say try, that means calibration of evidence, receipt of testimonies, connecting the dots, looking at the totality of the picture of all proofs presented. That is to try, and then to decide. That means announcing the decision based on the evidence. There is nothing in the Constitution, neither in the rules of the Senate, that they can remand the articles to the House who already did their job. Nothing of that sort. So, by the clear wordings of the Constitution, to try and to decide, there was a violation already of that Constitution. So that's why I'm saying it is a continuous mangling of the Constitution.
So in other words, the Senate should have convened already as an impeachment court, as mandated by the Constitution.
That is correct, Mai. Look, the House of Representatives has one particular duty. It is there where the complaint is initiated. It is there where the two-thirds votes will be obtained to transfer it to the Senate. Those things have already been achieved. And so the next step, according to the Constitution, is to try it forthwith, to try and decide. as of now, nothing is happening. And so there you are. It's an ostensible violation of the Constitution. Mike.
All right, so Senate President Cheese Escudero faced the media earlier and he defended his actions. Ang sabi niya, hindi naman daw po niya mapipigilan yung mga senador from making motions. And so he entertained all these things from the other senators. What does that say about him as presiding officer?
Tama naman siya, Mai. Hindi niya mapipigilan ang mga senador kung anuman ang ihain nila sa bading iyan. Pero dapat bilang Senate President, alam niya ang tinatakda ng batas. Ang parameters napakalinaw. Litisin at maghatol. Hindi mag-motion to dismiss. Hindi mag-remand. Diba? Kaya nga meron tayong constitution para makita ang hangganan, the limitation of what the impeachment court can do. Kasi kung you go beyond that, then you derail not only the wordings of the Constitution, but its aspiration. And what are its aspiration? Justice and accountability. So far, we have not seen the light. Wala pa tayong nakikita.
So ito ba ang remanding of the complaint back to the House of Representatives, kumbaga return to sender nga? Is this an outright dismissal?
Not yet. Ostensibly, kasi inire-remand lang. Pero may tignan mo ito. Sa normal proceedings in a court, a case is remanded from a higher court to a lower court. Like for example, the Supreme Court. If it finds there are certain irregularities and the case can still be salvaged, then the Supreme Court will say, okay, we'll remand this case to the regional trial court for further proceedings. So you see, there is a hierarchy. But in this particular case, the House of Representatives and the Senate are co-equal bodies, right? And so what is there to remand when the Congress have already done their job? And besides, the Senate is not an appeal court. It is not a corrector of what the House of Representatives has done. It has just to, the Constitution says, try and decide. Nothing more, nothing less.
Simpleng-simple nga po. Pero ito pong sinasabi ng Senate, it wants the lower house to certify that the articles of impeachment suffer from no constitutional infirmity. Ano po masasabi niyo doon?
Ito masasabi ko dyan. Karirinig lang natin sa inyong reporter na yung summons have already been received by the office of the Vice President. I think it was about 11 a.m. So kung nagbigay na ng mga utos doon sa sinasakdal to the respondent, orders have been given, summons have received, that is already an implied admission that everything was okay in the House of Representatives, because if it's not, then you don't do anything, isn't it? Diba? So, ibig sabihin, kung nag-order na sila, Vice President, sagutin mo na. Itong impeachment, itong articles of incorporation, hihintay namin yan. May 10 araw ka para sagutin. Diba, implied admission na tama ang nangyari sa House of Representatives. So, it creates confusion. Diba? So, if you says, we remand for clarification, but nevertheless, ito na ang order, sumagot ka na. What does that tell you, Mai? Diba? Wala.
Okay.
It's true confusion.
Yes, at this time, we don't know yet the plans of the House of Representatives moving forward. Now, the Senate and the House, of course, are co-equal branches of the government. So, Dean Mel, can the lower house refuse? And what if they totally refuse to act on the Senate's request?
If they refuse to act on the Senate's request, there is no more alternative for the Senate but to try the case. Remember, Mai, the Constitution does not give an option or choice to the Senate. The Constitution provides an obligation to the Senate. Gawin nyo ito, litisin at maghatol. That's the obligation. That is not a choice. That is not an option. So if the House of Representatives does not do anything, then let's go back to the Constitution. and comply with the mandate of that Constitution.
So ang dapat po ba ibalik ng House papunta sa Senate ulit itong impeachment complaint?
Well, pwede nilang ibalik. If only to, lessen the tension. Di ba, Mai? Pwede nilang ibalik. But just in case hindi ibabalik, hindi ibig sabihin, hindi na dapat tumakbo ang impeachment court. Kasi na-serve na si Vice President Sara. Natanggap na kaninang 11 a.m. Sasagot na within 10 days. Basta't sumagot, issues are joined, trial must proceed.
Ano po itong naririnig natin sa ibang mga panig na, they're saying the impeachment case may be dead?
Well, that is wrong. No, mali ito. Sapagkat pati na rin ang kabuuan ng Senado, tanggap na nila na maaring ito ay tumawid sa 20th Congress. Hindi pa ito patay. Kaya lang ang nagiging problema sa pag-aantala, the delay that is happening, gives you so much perception. Alam naman natin, Mai, justice delayed is justice denied. Ang trending lang na nakikita natin dito, delay, delay, delay. Wala nang iba. Forthwith, na delay. Trial, na delay. Paghahatol, madedelay na rin. Diba?
Attorney Mel, ito pa, ano pang mga legal avenues na pwedeng gawin? Ang sabi ni SP Cheese, the impeachment court can be questioned before the Supreme Court.
That is always an option because the Supreme Court is the final arbiter of questions of law. This is a question of law. Tama ba? In accordance with the law ba ang pagre-remand sa lower house? Because if it is not, then that constitutes grave abuse of discretion. And in accordance with the expanded jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to look into grave abuse of discretion and committed by any department of government, pwede talagang umakyat yan sa Korte Suprema. But, basta pag-akyat yan sa Korte Suprema, the trending continues. Delay na naman. Di ba? So, there you are. That is the only trending. That's the only definite thing we know. Delay noon, delay ngayon, maaaring delay in the future.
Okay, final question, Attorney Mel. Does all this have any implication on Malacanang? At sabi nga ni SP Cheese, it's sending mixed signals.
Surely there will be an implication. Because what we are seeing now, in my opinion, is not the safeguarding of the Constitution, but it's clearly political actions. Politics na lang ang nangyayari dito, sa tingin ko lang. At pag binanggit natin ng politiko, nahandyan na ang presidente, nahandyan na ang mga mapapatas, nahandyan na ang senador. Kahit na ano ang gawin mo, basta politics are concerned, you will be certain that there will be loyalties concerned there. May mga loyalties dito, may mga loyalties dyan, at meron silang mga perception na nangyayari. Kahit na sinasabi ng iba, wala siyang pakialam, may pakialam yan. Kahit sinasabi ng presidente, wala akong pakialam dyan, well, sino maniniwala sa iyo? So, may ganun yan. Kaya baka yung coordination nila, ang tulungan ng Senate, ng House of Representatives, at ng President regarding urgent bills, hindi na tayo impeachment, baka ulit, maantala, delay na naman.
It's good to talk to you, Attorney Mel. Maraming salamat.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean Mel Santa Maria live via Zoom from the Netherlands. In other news, the International Criminal Court unanimously rejects the bid of former President Rodrigo Duterte to disqualify 2 judges handling the case against him. Duterte's legal team had sought the disqualification of Judge Rene Alapini Gansu and Judge Maria del Socorro Flores Lera due to alleged bias. That's in connection with their prior involvement in decisions on the issue of the court's jurisdiction over the Philippines. But the ICC ruled Duterte's claims lacked merit. Duterte is detained in The Hague in the Netherlands for alleged crimes against humanity due to his bloody drug war. He is scheduled to appear in court for a confirmation of charges hearing on September 23rd. A national security risk. That's how U.S. President Donald Trump describes the anti-immigration protests raging in Los Angeles for a fifth day. Speaking before soldiers in Fort Bragg, Trump said what's happening in America's second biggest city is a full-blown assault on peace and order. Reason, he has mobilized thousands of National Guard troops and hundreds of Marines.
Generations of Army heroes did not shed their blood on distant shores only to watch our country be destroyed by invasion and third world lawlessness here at home, like is happening in California. As Commander-in-Chief, I will not let that happen.
The Republican president also blaming California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass for what he calls the foreign invasion of LA.
These are animals, but they proudly carry the flags of other countries, but they don't carry the American flag. They only burn it. Did you see a lot of the flags being burned? They weren't being burned by people from our country or from people that love our country. People that burn the American flag should go to jail for 1 year. That's what they should be doing. 1 year. And we'll see if we can get that done. We're going to try and get that done.
More than 100 people have so far been arrested as clashes continued between police and protesters. We're taking a break. Up next, 6 down, 1 to go. 2 more BTS members are out of the military. Stay with Newsfeed at noon. Back on Newsfeed at noon. Army wait or the wait for OT7 is almost over. BTS Jimin and Jungkook are officially out of the military. They now join RM, V, J-Hope, and Jin, who wrapped up their mandatory enlistment earlier. Only Suga remains in service, but he's expected to be released later this month. Fans are counting down the days until the K-pop supergroup finally reunites after going on hiatus in 2022.
We're very enthusiastic, we're very excited and looking forward to all the events, to J-Hope's concerts and to Jimin Suga's next discharge on 21st. And then we're also excited to the concert and to other events that's happening.
And before we go, let's get an update on the Senate this last session day before Congress adjourns. To recall, senators clashed last night over the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. Dexter Ganiba joins us now from the Senate. Dexter, ano ang latest dyan?
Mai, after the high emotions last night during the deliberations of the Senate Impeachment Court, business as usual doon sa mga committee hearing rooms dahil may mga hearing na isinagawa ngayong araw, but sa mga tanggapan ng mga senators, lalo na for those who will be graduating on June 30, ay iba ang sitwasyon. It's pack-up time inside the office of outgoing Senator Cynthia Villar, one of the 18 senators who voted to remand the impeachment complaint back to the lower house. Villar and 17 other colleagues succeeded in their yes votes. But the people of Las Piñas said no when she ran as Las Piñas representative and lost. And she has roughly 19 days to vacate her office here at the Senate to make way for new senators part of the 20th Congress. New group of senators who will try or not the impeachment complaint. Villar and her groups voted to remand back to the lower house. The 20 staff of Villar are assured of work elsewhere, but clearly, it is not clearly as usual. Same with the complaint that divided her and old colleagues in the Senate. May bukod kay Senator Cynthia Villar, Senators Grace Poe, Nancy Binay, Ramon Bong Revilla, Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel, and Senate Majority Leader Francis Tolentino will have their terms until the 30th of June. And tanging sina Binay and Poe, ang mga aalis sa Senado ngayong June 30, ang siyang bumoto ng no. Mai?
Okay, pack up na nga para sa iba at wala tayong magagawa. Let's all wait and see on June 30, 20th Congress na. Maraming salamat, Dexter Ganive reporting live from the Senate. And those are the news this hour. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Keep it here on the Billionaire News Channel. Good afternoon.